Blog Talk Radio.
At this pivotal time in humanity's evolution, we are beginning to remember our organic technology. A technology, when used correctly, can create an experience that the majority of people the world over want to live. It is time to use this technology consciously for our own benefit and healing, and no longer unconsciously for our own demise. We are divine creatures, creating both our own personal and our collective experience, moment to moment. We invite you to join us in the reawakening of this technology through experiment and experience the power to create and manifest. Become part of the 3%. The collective imagination.
Welcome everyone to this week's Collective Imagination show. It is, for me at least, Wednesday the 6th of March. And what a year it's been so far. You know, just listening back to that introduction to the show, and the word that really stood out for me was technology. And I remember when I wrote that intro that I really, at that point in time, I really wanted to, not just for myself, but for all of us, and sometimes we teach what we need to learn, was really grasping the understanding that as energetic beings, we are sources of technology. You know, our bodies are a technology, our energies are technology. And I think, for me, the way we've launched back into this year, the way 2013 has presented itself so far, we are seeing opportunities constantly to really acknowledge and get a handle on this technology. And I think we're going to be touching on a bit of that today. The technology in its various forms and expressions. So before I go any further, we'll bring out the rest of the crew that we have on board today, which is Chris in Melbourne.
Hi everybody. Having a really good day here today. Hope you are too.
And of course we've got Bob in Pennsylvania.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the show. Glad to be here.
And we've got Heather from currently in Morocco.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Absolute love and peace.
And we've got American Kabuki lurking in the background who may or may not speak up, but hey, Bill.
Good evening, everybody.
It's a pleasure to have everybody on board today. It's lovely. And we all always hope that, of course, that... sorry, we've got Brian Kelly also in the queue here. I've got to find him. Where is he? Brian, is that you? Hello, Brian. No? Maybe it's not. Let's try for another one. Brian, is that you?
If you can hear me
Brian?
laughing, then this is me. Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you laughing. There you go.
When you called me out a second ago, I started talking like I was on the air, and I realized I was talking to myself. So it's nice to be here. Hello, everybody.
And how are you? Where are you at the moment?
I am in what's currently not sunny San Diego, but out in California, holding it down this afternoon, 5 o'clock Pacific time.
Okay. That was very DJ of you. Very nice.
I'm in a really silly mood, so there might be a lot of laughing tonight. I'm sorry. Ahead of time.
Well, I tell you what, moods have been all over the shop, have they not?
Oh, to say the least, yes. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster the last 48 hours, but it's all fun.
Yeah, as everybody who listens to these shows know, I've been dealing with this cough and some physical stuff going on, but the emotional, wow, Today is what, Wednesday for me, midday. Kicked off Sunday night. I could have won all sorts of awards the last couple of days from my children, and I'm sure none of them are very pleasant. And the kids themselves, I'm saying, wow, what a roller coaster. My little one started kindy this year, and she's one of those kids who couldn't wait to get there. She's been absolutely excited every morning to go, loves it. And yet Sunday night, for some reason, had a complete meltdown, was hysterical for 2 hours at the idea of going to school the next day. And consequently didn't go the next day. I couldn't force her to go. She was too upset. And yesterday was a bit better, but she still got very teary when I actually was handing her over to the teacher. I got teary. The teacher didn't know what to do. And sort of patted me on the back condescendingly and said, it's okay if she doesn't calm down, I'll give you a call. So she's feeling it. You know, I'm seeing moods and clearings and all kinds of stuff going on. So what about you? What about you, Chris? Are you feeling the energy at the moment?
Yeah, I'm getting my usual symptoms, which is just my nervous system going nuts and amplified by lack of sleep, of course. But, it's an edginess, a feeling of anticipation, of things to come. And partially because, I have a kind of deep knowing that things are coming. But it's now overlaid by something else going on. And as we were talking about before the show, it's the conversations that people have been having in the way that they're feeling are referencing energy more and more. And the concept that everything is energy, I think, is actually becoming more real to people. They're expressing it. When they listen to conversations, they talk about the energy they felt almost before they talk about the content. So yes. Something's going on out there.
And Bob, you've had an extraordinary couple of days with Len Histon from the Wisdom Game staying with you. So you've been in this little bubble of playing these games while all of this is going on for the rest of us.
I will tell you, it's been extraordinary. I had no expectation of the experience that I had with Len. I told him, and I heard that many others told him, he does himself a discredit by calling it a game. It's so much more. It's so much more. And there was, we connected in ways that were very, very familiar but long forgotten. There is definitely more that can be experienced in our day-to-day, everyday now. And that game brings it out in magnificent, playful ways. It was really, really, everyone needs to play that game.
I haven't had an update, Glenn, for a while. How do people actually get it these days?
You could go to thewisdomgame.org, I think it is.
I think it's actually the Wisdom Club.
Or the Wisdom Club, you're right.
Yeah. And the thing about the game that I find absolutely extraordinary is the way that when you start to play it after a relatively short period of time, there's a connection between everyone that's participating that wasn't there when you started. And it just sort of appears. And if you weren't really looking for it, you really almost wouldn't be aware of it maybe until you reflected on it from, say, the perspective of the next day. But, how quickly did that kick in with the group you were actually working with, Bob?
Almost immediately. It was crazy. Yeah. It was. It's really hard to describe. It's something that you really just have to experience. And Len was he was the perfect guide through it all. We were in sync in ways like tuned into each other. It was extraordinary, really, really. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing to play with a group of friends, family, even couples. It's a really amazing way to connect with another human being.
Yeah, I have a feeling in the end that we'll just drop the word game off the end of it. Just call it wisdom.
Yeah.
And we've got Dee with us too.
Hi,
Dee, you there?
everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Dee.
And I so resonate with the roller coaster ride of the last 2 days. Has been insane. My kids, my 5-year-old who is on the autism spectrum and has Asperger's, he has had meltdowns, the likes of which I've never really even seen him have before. My 3-year-old has been just freaking out over the littlest thing. My 11-year-old is crying at the drop of a dime and then laughing hysterically with her sister the next time I turn around. I've been the same. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down.
Oh, they're saying in the chat room, someone's saying for the last 2 days I've had it for 5. So, yeah, we're not the only ones feeling it.
Hey, real quick, the wisdom game, the website that was just given, and somebody just Skyped me and said it didn't work. So I don't know if Bob, you have the ability of. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's .com.
It's actually thewisdomclub.com.
With two Z's.
With
two Z's. Yes, Z's.
And Heather, what's your experience of the energies, and maybe if you've got any insight into an explanation for them? Why are we all feeling like this? What's your thoughts?
Thanks, Lisa.
Go on.
You had to dump that one on her.
I did.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Chris, don't think you're gonna get out of helping. Essentially, yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, most of you already know the problems I've been having with technology for 5 or 6 days. So I agree with whoever in your chat room was saying, 5 days, 6 days. For me, it's been about that. My children are very sensitive to that as well. So not only do I have tech issues, but then also assisting them in sort of ferreting out, letting them know, just feel what you're feeling, let it flow through you, and don't hold on to it, honor it, respect it, but then choose whether to do something with it or just let it go. And it's also helped me in consciously doing the same thing, making that choice. So as far as the energies, they're being felt, in my experience at least, across the board. So anything that is in my consciousness is experiencing these heavy shifts in energy. And it goes back to what our discussions were about the absolute grid. There's energy grids throughout Source's universe. And a lot of them have been calibrated at different frequencies. And right now, prior to January 21st, I had someone at AK and GW asking about the disappearances of some of the gateways. Military was kind of up in arms as well, kind of trying to figure out where did they all go, what happened to the vortexes, what happened to all this. Well, everything was just recalibrated energetic-wise throughout Source's universe to absolute current and uniform, universal. So that allows...
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Well, that allows for the next moment that's actually here now in the present, which is the big disclosure and having that absolute data flow in as we pull it down, as we attract it. So in order to know those other parts that are outside of this planet, there needs to be at least some kind of communication or a grid that is uniform for those particular different densities or frequencies to become more universal, more uniform, right?
Right. Yeah, it does feel schizophrenic right now in the sense of energetically schizophrenic because there's so much going on. It feels like the ether itself, and I guess this is what you're referring to with the energy grids or the portals, is getting lighter and lighter in frequency, and that everything's trying to come into balance with that. And as we saw and observed last year on this show, that, nothing that was, fraudulent or false flag or, false in nature lasted very long.
Right.
It feels like now it doesn't stand a chance. It's not even that it lasts very long. It doesn't even get a foothold. And on top of that, we've got what we've been talking about over the last week or so, being the energetic accounting.
Right.
So there's multiple things going on, and you can feel it in multiple layers.
Okay, well then let's go over that then. So you have this energetic grid, and we'll just deal with the planetary portion of it, has been recalibrated to absolute current. Okay, so just as we are energetic beings and we're able to magnetically draw energy to us so that we can use that value to manifest whatever it is we want, we also are being magnetically drawn to the absolute grid frequency. And it harmonizes out. So if we are operating at a different frequency, anything less than absolute, and the absolute frequency meets up with something that's less than, it sort of balances or neutralizes out, right? So just something to consider.
Heather, I just wanted to kind of point back to the December 10 filing, where essentially the entire, I don't know if I'm understating it, say the entirety of all living beings were repurposed for being self rather than image of self.
Mm-hmm.
Is this not simply the energetic manifestation of that taking place, where everything is beginning to become unified?
Yeah, it's about absolute. So created in the image of self. Well, that statement there, it doesn't resonate with me personally. Okay, the image of self. It's for me, it's manipulated. For me, created as self. If you are a part, and the part is the whole of source, first source, then how is it in the image of? So it's just something that when we were going in and writing up that last bit, if you read it, this whole document not only relates to humanity, but also all manifestations in all of Source's universe. This was a preparation document for the present moment of now that is occurring.
Well, I guess really that's what I'm saying. I'm just drawing people's attention that what's playing out now is what the document said would happen, that we would be repurposed.
Well, it's a matter of repurpose. The first purpose was to remember self, be self. And with any contract, once a contract is satisfied, the contract ceases to, it's been completed, so it ceases to exist. And at that point, what do you do with everything that was involved? You can repurpose it, you can recycle it, you can just terminate it, and there's no waste in Source's universe. So now it's a matter of free will choice. What is it you consciously choose to do? What do you consciously choose to be? And that was in that document. There were three things. In fact, it discussed the number 3 out of that C section was the energy grid, patterns and manuals of creation for knowledge and use of absolute truth,
Well, that's what came to me as you were speaking, was that the return of that knowledge is that would appear to be what's taking place. The fact that people are not only feeling energy, they're noticing that they're feeling energy. What I'm doing, I guess, is pointing to that and saying, is this not evidence that the repurposing is in play as we speak?
That's the beautiful thing about this experience with OPPT and with the people and just with myself, was being able to go in and really understand and really know who I be through the experiences and relationships that I have with everything else in Source's universe. So this is that moment, and read through that document if you choose, and read it not just about yourself, but also in context of all that is known and unknown.
I'm seeing it play out in my personal life with the moment I act in a way that's not, say, heart-centered, it bites me on the bum immediately. Somebody has a quick retort or a comeback or something, and especially when you've got kids around, they're always very good at that. Yeah. But that's what I'm seeing. It's like there's not even a 5-minute delay where they storm off and have a think about their response and come back at me with something anymore, where they've got it right there. Well,
that goes to the energetic accounting and bookkeeping as well.
Yeah.
There's a very calculating and strategic reason behind almost everything the trustees have done. Actually, behind everything that we've done. And at this moment, it's about absolute truth doesn't need defense. Absolute truth actually magnetically draws when it's out in the visible and it's stated, whether through thought or words or doing, it draws all of its own visibility to everyone else. So you don't have to defend it. You just have to be aware and consciously looking for it at that point. And it's actually right in front of all of us. Just we haven't really paid attention to it, and that's by design. So now that the design has been made visible, such as the corporations operating under the guise of governments or slavery systems, harvesting tools, now that we've at least seen some of that design, now it's a matter of choice. Do we want to be in that, continue with that design, or do we choose to create something else, something new, something different? That's the moment.
Sorry, I'm just going to change subjects for a moment because there seems to be some problems with the chat room. People are typing in there that they can't see anybody else's comments. It all looks good at this end. It all looks good at when I go to Blog Talk and see it from the same page you guys are seeing it. I'm seeing all of the comments. So I really don't know what's going on there. But
I got a message. It says another user has tried to log in using this account.
Oh, okay.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to try and reconnect.
Don't drop this call, otherwise we lose everything.
No. Wouldn't do that.
Yeah, when it comes to that declaration of satisfaction, there are some people who really, really got it, and it affected them profoundly. I want to give a shout out to Peter, who put an hour plus video online the other day. He's probably listening, explaining his reaction to that. And there are others who they don't understand what it's saying at all, and so it's reaching people at very different levels. And for me, it was a moment of, I had to take a moment of contemplation and really think about and allow just the concept, just the idea that we willingly and lovingly volunteered to play a role in a game, and that game is over. And it doesn't matter whether it's the role you're playing is that of one of the slaves or one of the masters or anybody in between. We put blindfolds on, most of us, and forgot who we are and forgot the connection and forgot we were even playing a game. But just that concept that the game is now over and it's okay to take the blindfolds off and it's okay to throw the rule book out because the game's over, letting that idea just really, really sink in. I literally felt every cell in my body respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a moment of contemplation for what you've done as an individual from the moment you were conceived in creation's universe to now, to this now moment. Take a minute and really, really, really contemplate what you've done. It's huge. It's so huge, and everything you've done, every lifetime you've lived, it's all worked towards this moment where you could take those blindfolds off and declare the game finished. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
For me, Lisa, it's been such a remarkable journey, and it's been a very, very personal one for me, and as it is for everybody, I'm sure. But as I look back on it, and I think about all the different phases that I went through, and actually, starting to come to terms with the way things are and the way that I chose to be. Looking at the contrast, and it really defines who we are, who we choose to be. And when I came across the information from the One People's Trust, and I started to read it, and I realized that it was literally codifying everything that I felt. I felt as though that no one should have the authority to tell me, how or what I should be, as long as I'm not harming anyone. I felt as though that everyone should have the opportunity to exercise and live their life freely. I felt very strongly that everyone should be equal, that there shouldn't be any hierarchy, and all of these things resonated with me, and that became my truth. And I really, hope that people are starting to get when, is this your truth? This is the choice we have to make. We all recognize the system that we've been brought up in, but has it awakened into you who it is that you really choose to be in this now and in this moment? Has it awakened in you who you are? And if it has, then is this true for you? And that's the question that we're asking. Is this true for you? And if it's not true for you, and you're like, because I'm hearing so many people, arguing about their own freedom, and maybe they're not in that space yet, and they're yet to come. And if that's where, if I can help and assist in any way in that regard, I'm happy to do that. But I'm not going to argue what's true for me.
What's fun? What's been really fun to watch for me is the evolution of all of this just unfolds so rapidly. I mean, if you take into consideration the alternative media, or the truth movement, if you tried to find this information 40, 50 years ago, first of all, there's no internet. It's a lot of word of mouth type stuff, and you got to go to the library and find books on it. And then where we have been for the last 10 years, the last 2 years, and just the last 2 months since December, that's why, I really liked the comment that Max Egan gave to Mel V on the most recent interview they did. He, for all the people that are, doubting or skeptical, or listening to what too many other people have told them, and following bad information with regards to the One People's Public Trust, he said, if nothing else, it's been an amazing instrument to raise awareness that things just aren't right, and raise awareness of the fact that those have been in control and power just to tell that story. And it's spreading so quickly. I mean, everybody's on their own journey of exploration, whether they consciously realize that yet or not. Everybody's seeking truth in their own way, whether they consciously realize that or make it their main life's work, like some of the people on this call have. But it's beautiful to watch everybody go through it in their own way, reading some of these emails that we get, and then watching the video, Peter's video. It's like dashboard video of his emotional response that he had when he listened to the show where we talked about that document, and he was holding tears back the whole time because it triggered. It wasn't necessarily about the words. It is about the resonance of what was triggered inside of him once he discovered the information. Really, it was information he already knew, and that was triggered for him in that moment. And no matter if if it's as far to that end of the spectrum where it's this powerful spiritual experience, to the people that are taking it, bite by bite, really trying to make sure they understand it because they have come across so much information that has turned out to be, let's say less than truth. Watching that journey unfold for everybody individually is just a beautiful process. And I've learned for me personally, when we hear these calls with people lashing out or getting really angry, it doesn't bother me as much as it did in the very beginning, because I have no attachment to that person's experience, and whether or not they decide to believe it's real or not has nothing to do with me whatsoever. And sooner or later everybody will come around. It just takes some people a lot longer than it does others, but no matter which way you slice it, it's fascinating to watch it all unfold.
It has been, hasn't it? But I really think everyone needs to go back if they didn't get that. I mean, this is my take. If you didn't read that document and have an emotional experience, go back and read it again. And it is just a document. It is just a piece of paper on one hand. But on some level, it's expressing what we all inherently know. I mean, people who followed this show through last year would know that we firmly believed that there was going to be a paradigm shift. We weren't expecting the end of the world, obviously. But my belief for the last 12, 14 years has been that this time represents the dawning of a new age, of a new era. And okay, this could just be what it looks like in its infancy. And what if it is? Just be open to what if it is? What if this is how it starts?
Well, I think everyone in this conversation thinks it's already started.
Well, yeah.
And, the interesting thing about the language that's come out from all of the conversations we've been having since the filings became public was the way that people, and this terminology, I think it just actually happened because it's actually accurate. People are saying, when I say people, I mean, Elisa and AK and Bob and the people around us we're talking about the way that people are attracted to this information like a magnet. Mm. It just feels right. They might not be able to read the filings and understand them, but enough of it, along with the conversations that others are having about it, to know that this is actually truth. And I think the way that I'm coming to view it is that the eternal heart knows truth above all. That's why the attraction's just so strong.
It's really that's really profound too, because when the documents first started coming out, we first started posting them on RTS, on Shackles. I could see the comments coming in, and you get the one end of it was people who did not get it, not on any level. They couldn't read the language. They didn't get it emotionally on any level. And then there were others who would write in, and I was getting streams of emails as well of people who were like, I read that document and I broke down and cried. I didn't know really what it said. I really couldn't understand the finer details of what it truly meant, but I knew it was that powerful. Like people were, men, women talking, saying I wept when I started reading it, and it's because they got it on that heart level. They weren't reading the words; they were reading the energy of the words.
And the consistent thing, the negativity is coming from people who haven't actually sort of opened that book and actually started reading the documents. And I keep going on like a cracked record saying you have to read this stuff, and I do that because to me, that's the answer to their questions.
And read it out loud.
And read it, and they'll feel it, and all of their doubts will just vanish because it feels like truth.
One of the questions that's come up is, what document are we talking about? We're talking about the Declaration of Facts, and you can find it on my homepage. So if you go to my website, lisamharrison.com, it's the first thing you'll see. You don't even have to search for it.
Yeah,
actually, and it's called the latest OPPT filing at the moment.
Yeah, when I say read the documents, I actually mean read all of them.
Yeah, I know you do.
You
but
really
they're referring to that one in particular.
That one in particular, that's a very stunning document. That one, if you get it, it will really. It's like it's like diving into a pool of fresh water.
So what's
Beautiful.
next? I mean, everyone wants to know what's next. I think for the people who believe this is real, they understand it, they've read the documents, they've got it. They've read the documents on the CVACs, they've looked at the definitions that are up on American Kabuki, and I think Dee's got them on her site too, all the definitions. So they understand the difference between a CVAC and a CVAC system. And that's where they're ready. That's where they're standing at the starting line, waiting to jump in. Where do we go from here now? Because there's been a lot of momentum since the People's Trust went online. And from where I'm sitting, it feels like a freight train. But we need to know what's next. At the moment, it feels like, okay, now we're going through this energetic accounting, now we're going through this recalibration process, and that can be unpleasant or pleasant, depending on your experience. But once we get past this, what happens next? And I guess Heather's the one to answer that, from the One People's Trust perspective, at least.
Okay, well, I guess what's key to look at is, everyone keeps writing. What about the CVACs? When are they going to be up? When are they going to be running? And I sort of gave you guys a rundown of how we even came to call it CVACs. And it was during the investigations, and it actually started out as CVAC stood for Commandeered Value Asset Claim. And that's when there was certain discussions going on about how the banks, wanted to go in and were considering going in and creating a solution. And really that energy, just by the name alone, by using those words, the vehicle of that energy, the energy was focused on the old system, commandeered value asset claims. Meaning you had to go in, you had to actually, in my mind, I went back to my attorney training, you had to go back in and beg for something that was originally yours to begin with. And then when I sat there, and we had already discussed about, if this was all the value that was stolen and commandeered in the first place, why, we knew lien wasn't the right tool, because a lien is when you basically hold on to someone else's property until they pay you a debt. Well, this isn't about debt. This isn't about holding on to someone else's property. It's about getting your own property back, your own value back, right? So it just naturally evolved. And this is an organic process. All of this is organic. Okay, we've been under such a design of systems and harvesting of the value, and most people can't even answer what the value is. All they know are representations of value. Mm. So really it was, okay, we need to focus this on what is. So when you look at it, it was about the creator, for what I call first source or source, and the actual eternal heart or being, the manifestation from that. So it was really quite simple after that. It was a matter of, okay, great. You have all these corporations parading around as what they're not. And the only way they could get people to buy it was if they said, oh, we are here for you. We're serving you. So he said, great, let's just accept it. Let's go in there, first secure everyone, secure all the beings, secure all the value back to each respective being. And then let's look at, just like a CEO would look at a corporation that is basically failing and say, okay, let's look and see where you're failing, give them notice, let them try to clean it up, and if they can't, you fire everyone. And if your company is really bad, then you end up closing it, right? Meanwhile, you got to be liable for all the damage. So, I mean, that's essentially the process that we went in and did. So they put themselves in a corner. At that point, it became very clear, creation's value asset centers. Each person is a CVAC. They are creation's value asset center. And it's not just humans, it's every being, every manifestation in Source's universe. So it was also another preparation for being able to be universal, not just planetary or global, universal. And anytime you we'll go into the energy part of it because that is the value. Representations have changed, as we know through quote-unquote history. Representations of value have changed. And a lot of people...
They used sticks for a while, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, everything from deeds. It's whatever the two or more parties agree to as value. Or, excuse me, as the representation of value. So I understand right now, look, we just came out of something horrendous in one aspect. In another aspect, it was such a contrast that we were able to recognize and resonate with freedom. And I know that in some of the Skype rooms, people are arguing about how they wanted to stay in slavery and who gave us the right to take them out of slavery. I mean, essentially is what they're arguing. That's fine. You know? I mean, it's however they're seeing it from their perspective. It just gives us notice of where that being is in their state of being. So everyone's got a journey. So at this point, CVACs are up and running. What I would ask is that everyone go back in, read the CVAC, and understand what that tool was at the moment it was created. Understanding the dimension of the actual issue, what we were coming out of, and we had absolute data as to how the intensity and scope and depth and dimension of the powers that were and the slavery systems, all the way up to heaven, okay? I mean, if you want to speak in those terms. So it was a matter of dealing with it all, but at the same time making it so that people could recognize it no matter what state of consciousness they were in, inclusive of unconscious. So the way it was constructed was in such a manner, this CVAC, so those people that were coming out of being told what to do and they didn't feel comfortable in taking responsibility of just deciding and choosing what to do and how to be, they could recognize freedom. It would resonate with them. They know the government, quote unquote, or the corporations weren't serving them. It's in the record. It's in the public every day. And all of a sudden they have the opportunity to go in and have something that does serve them in a way that it's securing the responsibility and liability of those that claim to be working for the people. So that CVAC document, it's a tool. It's to reach everyone in whatever state of consciousness or unconsciousness that they were in, and people have accelerated. They've absolutely accelerated in their consciousness. There's very few unconscious, and if they are unconscious, I find that they're holding a very great contrast and still doing the job, you know, of assisting others into consciousness. Beautiful. So I would ask that everyone go back and look at the declaration of CVAC. It was registered as government, but it really is CVAC systems. Systems to help every creation's value asset center, every being.
So what's the physical process that you're going through in order to get them online?
Well, it's just, number one, patience and absolute love. When we went in to do this, I don't know how many times I heard from the families, the agenda families, the bankers, the lawyers, the brokers, all the hierarchies of especially bank, trade, and finance, if not, the judiciary, quote unquote. And all of them said, the people are incompetent. They don't have capacity. They don't have standing. Well, they're born with standing. They're born with capacity. So by design, they're rendered incompetent. And that was your design, not theirs. And they kept saying, well, you give them $1,000, and if you check with them tomorrow, they're actually in debt an extra $1,000. I was like, well, maybe along, even 6 months ago, a year ago, at the time we were having this conversation, maybe that was the case. But a lot has happened since then. You guys really kind of messed up because you took all the distractions away from them. At this point, the people have nothing to lose. And they've actually had to reconnect with relationships, the actual face-to-face, because they need help. And people are moved to help others with whatever they can. And to kind of...
They should have kept us fat and comfortable.
If they had kept us fat and comfortable, we wouldn't be having these conversations.
Yep.
So, and they're kind of kicking themselves, too, because they absolutely thought that they would be able to destroy enough people, terminate them, so they didn't exist anymore, so that none of this would be an issue. And luckily, not even luckily, by design of an eternal nature, that was never in the cards. So here we are having this conversation, and basically it was, if you want me to not do something, then don't tell me not to. Because if you tell me not to, or that I can't do something, that's going to absolutely drive me to go and prove it wrong. And especially in regards to this, saying that people are incompetent, especially when it's by the design of the powers that were, that was, I relied a lot on the ego and the greed. And so did Caleb and Randall, and we just looked at what resonated. We investigated, we discussed it, and really it started out with all of us on our journey to be as we chose. And when we came together and we saw we had the data, the contacts, the access, if we went in and just preserved it for ourselves and got our own value back and not shared that with anyone else, all their value was stolen too. So would we be stealing from the people if we kept that knowledge and that access and those contacts to ourselves? Then again, there's a fine balance, because if people by design don't know that stuff, there's a lot of data out there that is really hard to swallow, really hard to take. Because what I realized was it was my own ego, my own guilt of not being aware that I had to get over first. Once I got over that, then it was easy to make the decisions. Yeah, I'm going to go in and help others. And Caleb and Randall and other people involved in this whole OPPT process, typically resonate with that same kind of self-audit, let's just say.
Well, we put the question out yesterday on the radio, once you have access to value, your true value in the way it's coming, what will you do? What will you do with it?
That's the next step, Lisa. We need to, at this point, the next step that is happening this week is shifting everyone's focus from, okay, when we have the value, when will the value arrive, when will we have access, when will we have this or that. This week, it's, okay, we've got access. And OPPT understands, the trustees understand the full scope of what, number one, what value really is. But we also understand all of the design that got people into this representation mode. So we need to have something that is geared, and that's why we've been very prudent and not just launching a repeat or a substitute, but something that is a tool that allows for that transition, but you don't have to throw it all away and then put the real value system in there, So that's the step this week. Okay, you've got the value now. Go and do. What are you going to do? People need to start saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and actually have the tools to be able to do it.
Can you explain what that's going to look like? Because that's what's elusive to people, and they want real 3D answers to. What does this look like? Does it look like coins in my pocket? Does it look like a card attached to a digital account? What they want to know what it looks like. What is it going to feel like, and how usable is it going to be in terms of just living from day to day? Before we even go to the beautiful things I may want to do for the community.
No, that's a great question, and that we've been watching the powers that were and everyone else try to maneuver. I've had a lot of financial groups, financial providers, services sending in groups to come and sort of steer us in using systems that exist, except for there's all these back doors and there's always someone behind this particular method or that manner. So really it's a matter of having a very transparent system. You have bank accounts. So I'm going to go through this in a very 3D manner. How about we do that, okay?
Would be great.
Okay. So you have a bank account. You basically, when you open an account in a bank, you get a customer number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Under that customer number, then you open up different kinds of accounts. You have a savings account, a checking account. You may have a fund account, even an ATM debit card. They have different numbers on them. So basically, you have 7+ billion people, right? So we have to make sure the system, the temporary system, which molds or folds into the actual universal value system, is able to handle that many. Mm. And so there's a number of different 3D tools, recognizable tools, comfortable tools to allow that to occur. So the banking structure, as far as a bank account and all that will be mimicked, but it's going to be, we have a digital exchange. And somebody asked me, with that digital exchange, what color of RFID chip would you like?
Yeah.
And no RFIDs. It is you. And we have these things we call them in-house passports, but they're not passports. It's just like a USB drive, thumb drive. But it's able to hold massive amounts of data, and it's your own BIOS. So you're the one that controls it all. You're responsible and liable for everything you post up, everything that you put on. But it's transparently available so that if you walk into a grocery store, for instance, you want to buy a bag of bread, you can actually transfer your value units by using that USB stick, or I don't like the infrared or the magnetic strips are really easy to steal data from. And this particular one has biometrics, and it was designed by two guys that have worked on projects, long family histories as far as working with technology, all the way back to Tesla and Bell. They worked with those families. They actually went in and refined all this, and their whole goal was to make it so that people were responsible and had full control over their own data. From medical records are value. And in fact, medical associations sell and use your data all the time. They use it for profit. So that data is yours. It comes from your being. It comes from your body. So you should have full control over that, and you can decide who gets to see what. You're able to, yourself go in and make pockets so that when you go in, for instance, to get your bag of bread, the only thing that is able to come off that particular stick in that mode is a value of accounting. And the account number that you're actually pulling the money out of isn't the same account number that you actually have value coming in when you exchange. So if you have value coming in, it goes into a different number. That way nobody can steal the value through those mechanisms.
I know the question that's going to come out, the first thing that people are going to say, but who controls that system, and can they just switch it off? That is the number one concern for people when you talk about digital currency, that someone can switch the system off.
Right. But see, there's also the other mechanisms. So it's not just a complete digital. Okay? You also have, if you are the value asset center, essentially you're a treasury, you're a bank. And in fact, throughout history, the only banks that can't be shut down are the ones where it's just one person. They actually open up their own bank. The only problem is when they went in to go in and issue bonds, commercial paper, the protections weren't in place for them to be able to do that safely. So essentially your value, you can even issue, you know how you order or you can print off your own checks for banks? Well, it's the same thing, is it not? It's just people want to know that you have the value there to pay that check. So you can use any kind of form of method or tool for the representation that you want as far as transferring and all that. You can use digital, you can use paper. You can also use, essentially a check is really just a bill. So you end up giving a bill in the sense of a commercial bill, commercial payment. So you can transfer it any way you like. As far as the commercial, digital, everyone's worried about cutting it off. First off, any system that goes up, it has to belong to the people equally, right?
Yep.
Not owned by some corporation, some company that is owned by a few, because that's where the manipulation came in the first place. So the question is, there's a lot of groups that are out there that I've looked at, and I've got two guys. They're both named Michael. Michael's created these particular tools, and then we have Caleb. Caleb's, a code writer. He has his own successful company, and he does a lot of that stuff because I'm not a wizard. I call them wizards. He's a techie, and then there's a lot of checks and balances as well. So I want to make sure that this is owned by the people. It can't be taken down. That was one reason why the Public Trust website, it's on a server which Caleb built and put together. And he owns that.
Mm-hmm.
He's the protector of that. And just in case there was ever an issue, we didn't want to have the host or the server in someone else's hands, especially with the data we're trying to get out to the people. So I hope that explains at least the goal of where this was all going. Has to all be owned. The systems have to be owned by the people equally. So that's number one. Number two, it needs to also be on a server that is in, right now the only place that they aren't attacking is OPPT. And I have no problem standing in front, and I've been waiting. I've been standing there very transparently. So it's Caleb and Randall saying, go ahead. If you think this is wrong, if you think we've erred in some way, rebut it. Come on, let's go. Nobody will do that. And they've had their top lawyers, their top attorneys trying to do this, and they sent in I love the economic hitman, John Perkins. They sent in guys like that, and then it was a matter of, okay, let's just, be flexible. And there was no flexibility when it comes to returning the property or value that's been stolen. So there's going to be 3D tools, and they will mirror, essentially, tools that everyone's used to. Whether it's magnetic cards, you can use those, but we have these passports as well, the thumb drives, so that people can actually transfer. They can stick their thumb drive or the data on their phone if they want. I don't personally like the phones because those are easy to hack in as well, steal data off of. Just depends on what kind of protections you have on your phone and what kind of phone you have. So that I leave to Caleb as far as vetting all that and discussing it with the guys. He works a lot with the guys that are the best of the best and in the wizard world. And they actually are the ones that teach certain agencies and whatnot how to hack and crack and how to protect. And they're the guys that that would help and assist, but all of the securities and programs have to be owned by the people. As far as managing them, for right now, management would need to be transparent, period. Has to be transparent. And any need to be transparent. So that's what all the financial service providers have been approaching about was, we want to be the manager. First, we want to provide you the services. No. Then it was a matter of, we want to manage. Well, okay, but it's got to be transparent. Oh, well, people crack into the systems. They'll hack into the systems. Anonymous. You've seen what Anonymous does. Well, that's what's lovely about Caleb and his friends. Those are the guys that outshine all that. So, as far as protecting, as long as it's transparent, I find transparency is the best protection.
And there's no reason for it not to be transparent if you've got nothing to hide.
Well, state security, national security, from what? Because all of the intelligence agencies have everything on every other intelligence agency. It's all one family. Mm-hmm. So who are they hiding it from? Who are they being not transparent with?
Well, I find it interesting that all of these big companies that have massive transactional systems filled with back doors for their purposes are complaining that we might hack into their system. I think their system was never built to be anything but hackable by them.
It's like Microsoft putting out software and they've already got all these patches ready to go, and then they have the other division that makes the viruses so that people need the patches. I mean, it's just, look, this isn't a money profit thing. This is about returning the value, period. So make it transparent. At this point, everything needs to be transparent. Use tools that mirror that people can be familiar with, whether it's a magnetic access card that they can use, like debit, credit type thing, but it's not a debit or credit because it's their own value that was theirs to begin with and stolen. So give them their electronic access cards, give them checks. Whatever tools that people resonate with, that's what they should be using. And they have full authority to issue them because the value is coming from them.
I see, to me it seems like it's just a really little stepping stone to getting rid of the representation altogether. I mean, let's see, okay, I'm going in about three places at once. One of the questions or concerns people have is when this amount of $10 billion comes up, the image that they've got in their mind is imagining that everybody on the planet suddenly won First Division Lotto on the same day. So everyone acts like a typical lottery winner and doesn't go to work the next day. And there'll be nowhere to go and nowhere to spend your money, and you won't be able to get anything because nobody's gone to work, and everything starts to fall to pieces. I don't see it happening that way at all, because what we're not taking into consideration is the awareness that this isn't a lottery win overnight. This is the foundations of a new way of being and living. Mm-hmm. And people who are in a profession right now where they know that they are providing a necessary good or service to their community, I think are going to go to work. They're going to continue. They may not slog their guts out for 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. They might find people in their local community who are also willing to spend a couple of hours contributing in order to keep that good or that service available to the community. Because they know, there's this whole consciousness shift that's going on with it. That's one aspect. And if, for example, we do have, $10 billion worth of credit in an account, or everybody does, and the guy down at the local bakery, for example, with your loaf of bread, he's still providing bread for his community because the community wants and needs bread.
Well,
if he's got 10 billion and I've got 10 billion, do I really need to transfer, 2 units to him? Does he care if I do? He probably doesn't. So I could see it very quickly evolving into people just not bothering to charge because they don't need to.
that is the transition. And like I said, it's got to be, you can call it baby steps. You can call it whatever you want. The point is, it's an order, right? It's an order of events. So if people just came out of this absolute representation, and the representation was the tool they used to steal and commandeer the value in the first place, and it wasn't just the last 200 years. I mean, we're talking eons where representation has been there. So at this point, they're coming from a representation. They may need that transitionary tool, but then there's going to be others that say, hey, I'm really good at this, you're really good at that. Can we make an agreement here to sort of swap? I mean, that's the bartering thing that people have also been doing for eons. And then there's those that really are understanding and knowing and working consciously with energy, and they know how to manifest things. I mean, what was it? There's buildings that they are able to build in like 90 days now, skyscrapers. They did it in 90 days. Now they're claiming they're going to do it in 30 days. So, and we're talking like the Meet the Robinsons kind of a thing, where they put a little box down on the ground and a skyscraper pops up. There's technology that's been buried, and we see a lot of it through banking because all the inventors, all of these guys that pull down from source and absolute grid, they have to have the money in order to, get the materials to do what they're doing. So they're really brilliant in pulling this part down, but at the same time, they don't understand or know how the energy works the same way in order to manifest the parts and machinery that they need. So it's a whole learning process about energy. So let's just use the tool, whatever tools are required, and the people will determine for themselves what resonates with them, what tool they require in order to learn about energy. Meanwhile, still engaging in, you can call it commerce, I'll just call it exchange, value for value. I mean, that's really what it's about. So there's a transition, but if you make that transition in such a way that it just naturally unfolds organically into that natural, the absolute value system, all the better.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment here, though, because it's one of the things that's helped me to understand where you're coming from with that we are the value, is some documents you sent to us the other day to read, which covered many things, but one of the things, it was a legal action that you were experimenting with to test the system. And one of the things that was done was that there was a document that pointed out to the bank, I'm going to write you a bond, and you must accept my bond, because the value in it is my signature. And if you don't accept it, then how come you've been monetizing my signature from the documents I signed through mortgages and credit card applications and parking tickets? Everything I've ever put my signature on, you've acknowledged has value. Are you going to acknowledge this bond? And what could they do? Because if they don't, then their whole system is meaningless. So for the folks out there that are thinking, how can I write out a check and sign it and how can it have value? It always did. They just didn't tell you.
Well, and that's when they started to kind of cripple their own system. Essentially the way that the guys who knew what to do would do it was they would write out a promissory note. They would secure the promissory note on the UCC. Then they'd walk in with the promissory note and the UCC, and they would just assign that over to the bank. The bank would then exchange value for value, and they would normally discount it. So if you write a promissory note for $2 million, they would give you $1.6 million, and they keep $400,000 for themselves. Well, the powers that were just started. I'm wondering if there's even any sanity left in them, because they started to starve everybody out, and to put them in such a desperate mode that all they could do was make things so obvious that the people would naturally come to that point where they would make a choice. So that's how they actually would do it, and the guys that knew how to do it would go in and get their exchange value, and then they go and they would use it. Well, it got to the point where in 2010 I was getting a lot of complaints from within the banking, trade, and finance industry that the banks weren't doing it, and they were going, what's happening? And that's when it became an issue of whether the banks were solvent or insolvent, and they've been insolvent the whole time. They just suck money out. It's sort of like the oil industry. They took 95% of the value out of all the economic systems and only put like 5% back in. Of course. You take more out than you put back in, and you don't have abundance, do you? You have a shortage in supply and demand on one side of the coin. So
can we shift gears a little?
Signature is it? Mm-hmm.
Can we? Yeah, I just wanted to shift gears a little. And we've got quite a few people with their hand up wanting to come in with questions. But one of the things that we've talked about is the divines and the immortals a couple of times on these shows. And with this, I wanted to ask you a question. With this energetic accounting, and we've seen Adnan Sarkleef, just as an example, who is a man who's very much been behind the scenes for a long time, claims to be the owner of at least 50% or more of at least the biz and I think 3,600 other what he calls Illuminati corporations, including the governments. He, for the first time, only in the last few weeks, is becoming very, very public through other people, through avenues. To me, he strikes me as one of the brokers as opposed to, say, one of the divines. But are we going to see more and more of this? Are we going to see, there's a lot of talk of the old man, the Saint Germain and others. Are we actually going to start seeing them popping up? Because it feels like that would be their last card, is to actually make their presence known.
Yeah, that's actually what's happening right now is the maneuvering. Since January 17th specifically and on, they've been attempting to do in a panic mode, because normally they prepare things for decades and test them, and then they launch. They maneuver the people because they actually use the energy of the people and harvest it in order to do what they want. They manipulate it. And so at this particular point, they've all been cut off. And they're actually having to use the energy of their own in order to eke out a little bit more in that engine, because they've already used up all the stuff that was in the tubes. So with the divines, or the divine wannabes, really, these guys are just phenomenal. You have Adnan, who I had a 3-hour plus conversation with him. I didn't realize it was that long until after. And then, of course, he works with someone very closely in order to disperse information. And he's become very visible by his own free will choice, but more of a choice of, desperation, because I'm getting direct information from him on this side. And after he was done calling us all names, then all of a sudden he wanted to talk, and it was actually, it was a pleasant enough talk, but it was basically, I own this, I've done this, because of me, this and this and this. And, he went in and talked about OPPT. I'm worried about 3 people being in charge. And I was like, well, weren't you just saying, first off, we're not 3 people in charge. We're just there to make sure the people have the opportunity to be in charge of themselves. But if you're 3 people concerned, well, what about you running everything for everybody without telling anyone? Using their value to open up Sino in China, supposedly, or owning the Seven Sisters, OPEC. And it didn't resonate. And then on the other side, I have information coming over from different contacts saying Adnan's calling, Saint Germain basically is sitting there saying Adnan called me and wanted me to buy up all bad assets in BIS, because it's all debt now. They owe the debt over to the people of the planet. And then you have Jerry Berman and all those guys supposedly going in with Saint Germain's foundation, and they don't have the actual signatories okay. And Jerry Berman's NSA supposedly, and thinks he's one of the seven archangels. So what I'm saying is that people are really becoming more visible at the highest structure of the powers that were, because they have to. They can't. Their very survival is on the line, and they can't trust the frontmen they normally use. They can't even trust the frontmen of the frontmen anymore. So now it's getting back down to prime, and for their survival, they're coming out and being much more visible, more vocal, and you're able to ferret out. You're able to resonate or not resonate with the information in the data. You're recognizing it much quicker now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay, do you want to take some calls? Are we up for that? Because we've got quite a few people. So I will start with area code 612.
Hello, this is Donna.
Donna.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you, and everything resonates with me since I first heard Brian's interview with Heather, and I'm just so grateful, and it's just hard to express it. It's just so wonderful. And I just have a question. Heather had mentioned just a little bit ago, and that was my question, is how much more energy is in the tube for these imposters to work on before we can actually take over? So I guess with that, I'll say thank you and end that for tonight.
Okay. Donna, there's nothing left in the tube. And in fact, this week, everything switches over. So there's nothing left in the tube. And right now, you guys, the people being and doing, have magnetically drawn the energy for us to use and manifest. And the only thing they can hope to do is manipulate and bully or deceive or fear everybody into pulling that energy down in a way that benefits and manifests for their interests and not the people's. So just be very aware and very conscious. If you guys do that part, then we can finish up making sure that everyone has access to their value in a way that resonates with them. And I expect all that to finish up this week.
What does that mean, getting, accessing the energy that you've brought down? And I have this image that everybody on the planet right now is magnetically drawing energy from source to the planet and to them. Yep. And that we've created this whole new bubble around the planet, or at least strengthened one that may have already been there. But how do we physically draw it into ourselves for ourselves?
Chris, you want to take that or help me with that?
So you caught me unawares there. The being and the doing is what's generating this energy, and it's coming from source because we've been recalibrated back to source at eternal heart level. It's really as simple as that. The drawing of energy down to us, I think the simplest way to express it is that if we simply have an intent that this week is the week where we the humans will begin to get true access to our value. If that's our intent, then the trustees and anyone who's working with them will have all of the energy they need to fulfill their task. I think that's what we can do.
It's like this. Am I muted?
No, you're good.
No, we can hear you.
Everybody's been feeling the energy. Everybody's been feeling it. It's been affecting you physically. It's been affecting you emotionally. You've been drawing down energy, and it's a new source of energy. It's a new type of energy. And this is the whole calibration. We're getting used to it, but we're still drawing it down. We're still bringing all of this energy in, and this energy is going to manifest into whatever it is that you decide. What do you want? Okay, as a physical representation of that energy. How do you want to manifest that energy and use it in the real world. But it all starts with energy, and that's what we've been feeling. That's what we've been talking about. It's what we've been discussing. Now, what are we going to do with it? The choices that we make are going to be honored. So long as you're not harming or infringing upon the rights and will of another, those will be honored. So what do you want to do? And those choices that you make will be honored. But
one of the things,
all of the data that we have. Keep in mind all of the information that we've gone through up to this point. Understand, our relationship with the Earth, with the planet, with the Creator, even with each other and the divines and the immortals. Keep all of those things in mind as you make your choices.
One of the things we did in the show yesterday, sorry to interrupt, Heather, I just want to put a final thing on Bob's thought. One of the things we did yesterday was we pointed the audience at what they want to do with what's coming. And the amount of energy that released was just extraordinary. When I say we need to have the intent that this is the week that will become possible, that it will become real. And can you imagine just that the burst of energy that would manifest into reality through the intention, following through on that intention, that this, if we just know that this is the week it's going to happen, and that next week, what we intended from the shows yesterday to put all those incredible projects in place this week we intend it, next week it begins.
Very nice. Did you want to say something else, Heather, before we move on to the next question?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I had asked everyone to look at that CVAC document as well as the offer to contract for the branches. And if you read CVAC knowing that it means you, me, and everyone else, CVAC, make it very personable, all of a sudden you'll see exactly how this is going to unfold. So you're drawing that energy magnetically, and some draw it magnetically more than others only because they consciously are focused on it. They consciously know how to draw it. Let it flow through you. Someone asked me what I was going to do when I had my CVAC, up and running. I was like, well, I'm already doing it. I'm investing my energy, the value in me and all of you, and in creating something different, something better, and the highest good of all, So the more that you can let it flow through you and invest it, don't hold on to it, you actually, if you stop the flow, nothing's going to come behind it, or it'll trickle in. If you want abundance and for unlimited abundance and just have it keep coming and coming and coming, let it flow through. So it's time to go ahead and let's just start a different chapter. Let's start a different focus. And the focus is, here's the access, so we'll get the tools. The 194 systems for the CVACs will be up and running by the end of this week. And no president, because you guys are all being and doing. So really it's just a matter of us all coming together, CVACs coming and bringing absolute data through this process and making choices on our own. And then we'll be drawn magnetically to others that are of like mind, and everyone will find their passion, their niche, and they'll actually do it now. So that's what I wanted to say.
I have no doubt that they will. Okay, we've got caller with area code 253.
Hi, that would be me.
That would be you?
This is Loie.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, hey,
Hi,
Loie.
honey.
How are you?
Hi.
I wanted to share an experience of energy, and we all have what Heather was talking about, a magnetic field around each of us, not only on the earth and animals and all that stuff. And the magnetic field that is around us, like mine is damaged a little bit because of health-wise. But Source told me how to clear it up. He said to go in because it's like little dings. Like you get little dings in these grids, And all you do is have the energy flow through the grids and round them out, and then everything will start flowing naturally and come back into harmony. Meaning it's like, when you draw blood, sometimes it's sporadic and it's not flowing really well. That means it's damaged a little bit. But once everything is cleared up and everything, it flows so naturally and beautifully. So that's the experience I had with Source actually this evening, was telling me how to repair my magnetic field around me. And there's a lot of people that do have damaged magnetic fields, whether it's health-related, whether it's mental, whether it's doubting, whether it's fear, whether it's anything like that. You can like I think Chris said, recalibrate it and fix it. And it all comes from within you. And this is pulled down from Source, directly showing me how to do it.
Yep.
You made it sound like energetic panel beating. I love it.
Well, I like the
it's like the heartbeat. It's like a pulsing. It's like a heartbeat.
I like the visual that you gave as far as letting that energy flow through. Mm-hmm. And it actually, with the flow of the energy, it rounds and smooths and caresses those dings and makes them whole again, or pushes them back into place, or assists them in being put back into place. So that resonates and it feels right. But it's all about energy, letting it flow through and drawing it magnetically,
right,
consciously.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you,
all
Lois.
I had to say. You're welcome. Have a nice night.
Well,
Thanks,
if you're going to stick around, I'll leave your mic open so you can continue to comment if you'd like to.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. We've also got area code 646. Area code 646. Yes. Hello. What was your name?
It's Rick again. How are you?
I'm good, Rick. How are you?
It's wonderful to you guys. Like I said last night, you were kind of like friends that I have over for dinner now. So.
Well, when I come to your neck of the woods, I'll take you up on it.
Well,
yeah,
don't
what
worry.
have you got up? What are we having tonight, Rick?
Wine. What's that? What's that, Chris?
What are we having for dinner then, Rick?
Oh, you will love my cooking. I can guarantee it. Whether you're vegetarian or not.
Excellent.
Anyway, good evening, everyone. Hello, Heather. Glad you could make it. And what I wanted to talk about tonight, because this is the collective imagination, and the topics are just right where I'm at spiritually and emotionally right now. I mentioned the last time we spoke that I'd moved from New York City, which I'd moved from the West Coast to New York City because I had decided in the middle of the last decade that I was going to go for it and become, get into the theater business and write a second musical, And, New York's really a tough place to live. And empathetically, from the way I vibrate, it was like kind of overwhelming. Well, universe provided, and now I'm up in this lovely house up in Connecticut, and I feel great, and I'm among nature, and I never thought I'd kick it rurally, but this is great. But at the same time, every time I now re-expose myself to, quote, society, I'm seriously overwhelmed by how much everyone is skimming the surface, and so I guess, and we touched on this a little bit last night about the ways of being and doing where you can authentically get through to someone, because there's so many times where I try to relate new concepts to people and they just swat them back like they're trying to shoo a fly out of their face. There's such immediate dismissiveness. And I don't really have the energy to take that on. I would rather just let them have whatever beliefs they want to. So in the new paradigm, and trust me, guys, I've been connecting with this for the better part of 10 years now, since I know it was before 9/11, because I'm kind of a victim of domestic terrorism myself, even though I survived. But it was before 9/11, and so I've always had a different take on it because of this confrontation with people just destroying and committing violence for no reason. So, I always lens it differently. So what I wanted to express to you was I have this enormous optimism and it is countered. There's this duality because it's countered by this kind of this creepy dread, because I'll read something like online about how Department of Homeland Security purchased 2,700 tanks, and I'm going, well, I thought they were broke. I thought all these people were broke. Why are they still buying big guns and things? So it doesn't frighten me, but it gives me pause, because I'm wondering what percentage of the people on the planet are just going to say, oh, we're done with that old thing? Oh, okay, great. Let's all just, join hands and sing Kumbaya, which would be great. I'd love that.
Well, Rick?
Yeah. Hi,
when
Bob.
you're at how are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing pretty good, actually.
When you're in moments like that, when you're faced with that duality, that's your choice point. What resonates with you? These are just options. You get to choose which one. So, if you don't want that other reality to manifest, well, then that just doesn't matter. And it will not matter. It will not materialize.
And that is exactly it, guys. That's exactly it, because I'm making a choice. I'm making those distinctions on a case-by-case basis, and really pushing myself towards finding the good, enjoying the beauty, appreciating and being grateful. And then I go out there, and all these people that are just caught in the drift of all this stuff that's just vexing them. And how are we ever going to lead them to this wonderful, blessed place of trust and abiding? Because everybody, like, even in the questions that Heather's been fielding, or that people have been asking in the chat room, it's like, well, how can we trust these people, or how can we do that, or how somebody's going to rip off our thumb drive, or whatever like that. When are we going to get to that level, or how do we get past that in a transitional way, in a progressive way, where people can start to really abide and trust each other again?
You know what, Rick? I honestly believe that if you're on the planet right here, right now, it's because you made a choice to wake up. And for those who have made the choice not to, they are leaving the planet in record numbers. So if you're still here, there's a good chance you, at some point, made a choice to wake up, and there is a trigger within you that is already set. It's a preset trigger that you put in there.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this on this show before. I mean, for some people, it was 9/11. For other people, it's losing their home to a foreclosure. There's whatever that trigger is, and for some, it won't switch on. Perhaps until the very last moment. It'll look like they're moving into this new paradigm, kicking and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
But it will switch on. That's my belief.
So it's not an if; it's just a matter of when at this point.
It's a when.
Yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it.
The thing that I factor into my thinking about how the transformation will take place, I always factor in the big D disclosure, because the difference between yourself and the people that you run into, and I know the reaction. You run into these people, you just bounce off them because they've got this belief set that's just completely based in whatever else has been going on by virtue of the controllers. That is that massive dose of absolute data, be it in one big chunk or smaller chunks, is going to be the trigger point for most of the people, the way that Lisa just referred to. There's going to be an event that will trigger a lot of people, and that's going to shift the momentum of perspective to a completely different angle, which is, if you can imagine the human race as a cargo ship trying to change course is very difficult. It takes quite a long time to steer one of these things in a different direction. Well, that's the situation we're in. But you get a tugboat that gives us a really good wrench off to one side, and that's big D disclosure, and you'll get the sort of massive perspective shift begin to happen. It won't be instant, but it'll actually kick off at that point. So don't think that it's going to be a long drawn out procedure. I think we're going to get it in bursts. And if you don't factor that in and you look at the situation, you think, my God, it's going to take 100 years to shift all these people in a different direction. And The answer to that is disclosure. And in fact, if Heather has a desire to talk about what that might look like for us, I would be interested to hear.
Come on, Heather. Pretty please.
I know she won't, but I can only ask.
We can only ask, right, Heather?
Sorry, what was that?
Are you going to say your thing?
What?
I can repeat it if you wish. I was fishing for information about what disclosure might look like, actually, Heather, and throwing it back to you.
Big D disclosure, to be specific, is what he said.
Oh, the big D. Well, here's what I think. Is that if you I want to ask everyone, if you hold whatever vision you have of what you want Big D disclosure to be, hold that, send that energy out, which gives them all notice, because they work on energetic patterns. And then they get to send over whatever energetic patterns they want to say, here is what we would like. And when you go back and forth like that, all of a sudden you end up refining the process. It's going to be nothing that has ever been fathomed before. And it definitely is not going to be like Hollywood portrays. It's very peaceful, but it's fun. It's a party. It's everyone just finally coming together and saying, thank God. And, it was funny because I worked with, or I still work, hopefully, with him, Jonathan, and his buddies at the NSA, and they're all trying to figure out what do we do, because China, Russia, India, everyone was starting to reveal what I call non-locals, or the ETs, or extraterrestrials, or galactics, all the data. And that NSA was trying to figure out, and NASA was trying to figure out, what do we do to cover our asses for hiding it all this time? And so there were huge negotiations that went around on that. And I don't think there's any limit. There's no limit on imagination and creation. Make and visualize whatever party or whatever event you want to happen, and that's going to be put into the fold. It'll be part of the energy that manifests what the big disclosure is.
Anybody else dancing and singing right now with their mute button on?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. You know what I mean? Front door, thumb sticking out.
Rick, I want to say thank you for calling in again. I love that.
Thanks, Rick.
Lisa, I hope when you see 646, you don't just kind of skip it and go to the next call. I'll try not to be too prolific.
Hey, Rick, just make sure you let us know what's for dinner next time ahead of time, please. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Well, I just need to know how many vegetarians and how many carnivores.
Will do.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll be well catered for. Thanks, Rick.
I love you all. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thanks, you.
In kind, Rick. Yep.
Okay, we've got area code 917. Area code 917. Hello. If you've got your hand up and you think it might be you, area code 917. I can hear something. Okay, I will mute you again and come back. And we've got Dale. Dale's back from yesterday as well.
Hey, welcome.
Hey. Hey, Dale.
Hey, Dale.
Well, I tell you, this is so great, man. We're manifesting right now.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly why I wanted to call, because we have a unique opportunity right here in the now to create a manifestation. And let me actually explain it and how it works. Give you a little bit of just a little bit of a backstory here. As a child, I was able to bilocate, and it was off planet, and I just thought this was normal, and every other kid could do it. But these bilocations
must have been a shock when you realized that they couldn't.
Yeah, it was.
Uh-huh.
Hence is the reason why I was put on drugs to alter my mind, Ritalin and Depacane and a few other not so nice drugs to dumb me down, which it did. But all that's reanimating in memory has returned. But one of the abilities, one of the places that I went was to other worlds that existed with other human beings slightly different in look, but pretty much the same look as us. And they existed in a world that did not know the meaning of war. I asked them, I said, "Oh, do you have war?" And they said, "What's that?" This was a civilization of beings that lived in absolute perfect harmony. And because they had not the shackles of strife, the science, the living, they only ate for pleasure. They did not require. Let me shut that off. They did not require food to, provide substance to keep them alive. So, bringing it back to here and now, I'm going to put a scenario together here, and then, we can all sound off on this on even those that are listening live right now will be listening in archives later. And it goes a little something like this. Imagine living in a world with a blank slate. What do you want to put in this blank slate? Would you like to put a pristine world, a world with absolute pure forest, with a constant temperature, a tropical temperature that doesn't really have seasons? It's one constant season. Would you like to live in a world that we can travel by the mere thought of it? We won't need modes of transportation. However, modes of transportation will be available in the physical realm. But these transportation devices will not require rubber tires because they will levitate. They will move and scoot across the ground, and they will be vehicles, most vehicles that you would have, like let's say an automobile, and like everyone will have the ability to travel into a lower Earth orbit. You'll be able to take a vacation on let's say a platform out there that's like a hotel. You'll be able to travel back and forth, and there will be no need for learning how to fly them or drive them, because you'll interface with the consciousness of the vehicle and just put your thought of where you want to go, and it will move. It'll have a consciousness about it. The dwelling, the homes that you want to live in, will have a consciousness where you'll be able to interface with the dwelling you live in. And you'll say, hey, we're going to have a party, or you'll say home, expand to accompany a party of 30 people. And you just simply stand back and watch it evolve and move and expand floors.
What's your time frame for this?
About a year. How about a year? Earth time.
Wow. Because so many people are talking about technologies that are available that we can use, and honestly, it feels like we're going to just make a huge leap over a lot of that stuff. It's going to be redundant before it even comes onto the market. That is true, but in order to get the mind frame, which the brainwashing of strife in societies by the controllers, the way we've been living, the shock of getting over that is going to be taken in steps. So food replicators will be installed, and then eventually, once we learn how to manifest this ourselves, then that stuff will go bye-bye. But what I wanted to get back to is, if you want to live in a world that is totally free in every sense of the word, and you would like to see this come into action, signify simply now by stating I.
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 And the universe has heard, and so shall it be. That's how simple it is. We have just signified and put our needs and put our desires out to the universe because of the frequency of the words spoken, and by our acknowledgement of those words, Now the universe is going to work it out on their level, and all we have to do is carry on about our day and go on and just stand back, and this stuff is going to start to happen. And not think it, know it, feel it. Let the head rest and let your heart speak.
You're getting quite a few eyes in the chat room as well.
Yeah. Make sure you say your eyes out there for everybody listening.
Yeah, see? That's the simplicity of it is just that it's so simple. But with since the time we left the womb, we have been indoctrinated by control and by the processes of complexity. Once we make this journey back to source and prime, once we begin to remove the shackles of pain and strife and tyranny and allow those energies from prime to re-enter, it's simply as saying, prime, source, the force of nature, I give you permission to wake me up. It's that
I've
simple.
been doing that consciously before I go to sleep now.
There you go.
I want to remember. Tell me what I need to remember now.
And that's why you are in the position that you are, as well as everyone else on this line tonight. You have made the conscious decision, and the universe has replied. So congratulations, we're doing it. It's just now we're giving a little bit of nudges here and there. We have to be nudged along, but understand that we possess the powers right now by the words that we use to create the reality in the physical realm, and the universe now is going to go to work. So congratulations, folks.
Thank you, Dale.
Thanks, Dale. That was
Have
awesome.
A good night.
It's excellent work, Dale. Lovely. Great.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too, Dale. That was lovely. Okay. Area code 143. Area code 143. That would be you.
43. Oh, is that me?
That's you. That's you, 143.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, I was trying to think what it would be.
143 is I love you.
Oh, thanks, man. So, appreciate
What was your
you, Brian.
name,
Okay, it's Mark in Australia.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Is
that Mark?
Yeah, it is. How are you going, Lisa?
Oh, I'm good, mate.
So,
How are you?
I'm really excited
G'day, Mark.
to get on. I'm really excited about what you guys are doing. It's very, very exciting. Wonderful work. The reason I'm calling to ask a question is that I'm working. I'd like to talk about, run through the mental process of how this might roll out. And Lisa, what you said was really resonated with me, that because some of the people I'm working with were looking at the question of, okay, if you give this, it seems like it might be some sort of a ruse or a trap to give everybody a huge amount of money. And if you give everybody $10 billion, then some people are going to try to get an unfair portion and trick others to get, and it'll all end up in the same hands in a short period of time anyway. And I looked at it as such a large figure compared to what people are used to right now, that exactly what you said, Lisa, it was seeming to me that if any of us start doing this, as soon as we start doing that, of creating or claiming our own SEAC, we then no longer feel. It takes us a while to go through all of the emotions of coming out of a slave condition to go. First of all, you think, all right, man, I'm going to go buy everything. And then maybe you go then, oh, wait, I want to help so many people. And then you go, oh, wait a minute, they can each have this too. And then you think, but I want to do all these projects. But now I don't have to do them from a point of lack. I can work with each person coming involved and start bringing them to the party of, hey, I can fund this myself. Really? How can you do that? Well, actually, you could too. And then it just grows organically to where we're not trying to then control each other through control of energy through so many different means. And I really understand or resonate with you, Heather, with what you say about the control of energy and that it isn't just money that we get controlled by. And I would really like to look at just having the chance to think about, okay, what if you did have $10 billion right now, and what if it was available to everybody? Now, how are you thinking? And if, as Heather says, if this comes out now this week rather, all it takes is for some of us who are keen enough to just go for it to start proving it for everyone else, because some people need to be the way showers, others are more cautious and they'll watch. And I really don't think we need to convince anybody. We need to convince ourselves that it's possible to live a different way, and we'll guide everyone else who isn't quite game enough to give it a try. I mean, am I missing something, or this seems like all the task is right now. Those few of us who are looking at this right now, out of everyone listening to this show, some of us are going to be going, yeah, I want to just do that because that feels really good. That feels like that could work in my heart. Anyway, my question.
Mark, I think you're right on the money, Mark. I don't think the only thing I'd like to add, and this is something that Bob in one of his outpourings a week or two ago said, that the best way to lead is by serving.
Yeah.
Okay, and we want to lead them to a different place. We just serve, yeah. and everyone will grow.
You go, yeah. Somebody's having a hard time. You go, hey, I think I can help you with that. And while you're helping them with that, you go, hey, you could actually be rid of this problem forever if you want to just start working with in a different way, and then you're educating. And some of the people in the chat rooms are going like, oh, I don't know what I could offer. I mean, Linda Sunshine, Rays of Sunshine, she's so amazing. She comes out with all these, she's got such energy, and she teaches people really well. And when it gets down to it, and there's this group, this group of people, it's just a little tiny pocket of people who care about each other. They're just having a play, but when it gets down to it and somebody needs help, it's all business, and there's some warriors in there. And I just see that rolling out across the world. Like that is our new police enforcement system. That is us, each of us, looking after each other. So let's say there is somebody. I'm thinking of a girl on the streets of Bangladesh in Dhaka. She was selling children's books, trying to make money. She wasn't in school. She was the age of my daughter. She's trying. That's not okay. But if she decides she wants to stay in that position, fair enough. But I want to make, she should have an option to take up her CVAC. And it might take her a couple of years even to get to the point where she grasps even the possibility of living a different life. And she may not, in her destiny, she might want to stay there. That's fine. But this gives everybody a chance to do it. That's what I'm really excited about. I'm just like, I don't know, probably shouldn't have called, because I'm really excited, but I'm trying to ask a question. My question is, am I on track with that thinking? Is this kind of what you're looking at?
Are you talking to me, Heather?
I don't know. Heather, I would love it if you would answer that question.
Yeah, guys, I used to walk into Nordstrom's, a clothing store, and not think twice about popping down $2,000 or $1,500 for an outfit, and moving out of that consciousness into real consciousness, living in Italy, going through all the designer factories and seeing kids not being able to leave the factories, and these were Chinese factories in another country, to being in Morocco, and my gosh, when M6, Mohammed VI, the king here, drives in, I can't tell you how much waste I see, the manpower, and yet you have women and children on the streets just asking for a coin because they're stuck here because some guy said they could sneak them from Senegalese over to Spain, and then left them here after they spent all this money. Everyone needs to be able to have the tools. They need to know who they be, have the opportunity to know who they be, and then to make a different choice. So all that's coming back to them is their own value that was stolen, And I am so excited. I look at people as we're driving now. I look at people and I really want to record what they look like at this moment so that when they know and when the tools all come down, I can see the difference and really enjoy the difference in the energetic pattern of that being and of the surroundings around me from the before and after. I'm so excited. And yes, I thought about everything that you're talking about. I think you're right on, at least for what resonated with me, it's the same thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks Heather,
you.
for that.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on to caller 703. If we do go over, we've got 5 minutes left. If we do go over, you'll be able to listen to, yesterday we went 35 minutes over. You'll be able to hear that on the recording in the archive. If you've actually called in, then you'll stay with the call. So just let you know. So area code 703.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
What was your name?
This is Kate.
Hi, Kate.
It's Paige. Can you hear me?
Paige.
Yeah. Yeah, I called you guys last week, and I had the idea for treason tracker. Apparently that's not going through, but that's good. That's okay. It's 2-3D, right?
Oh. You know what?
No?
It's
Sorry, I thought I was muted. No, I'm not.
Paige.
Go ahead.
Paige.
Yes.
You know how we were talking about the CVACs and what they actually CVAC stood for in the beginning, and then me sort of saying, okay, what is the absolute energy and what focus? How do we want to approach this? And when I switched the CVAC to what resonated with the data that was on the table, all of a sudden everything flowed so quickly, and in 4 months, basically all the old systems were taken down. Just from delivering the energy that you wanted. So the energy was absolutely honored. And the point was is that it's not that you were 3D or that the words were 3D. It was a matter of the energy, what words would be able to be multidimensional and deliver the energy that you intended. So I'm speaking to that one because I'm the one that sort of went in to kind of talk to everyone and making sure that this stays on absolute, multidimensional, and positive, where it's drawing magnetically the energy of abundance and not stopping it or pushing it away only because of powers that were, training programs and things like that. Not in you, but in others as we go through and recalibrate.
And I get that, and I think that's totally in line with where we want to go. I think that we do get pulled down into, we walk outside and we see chemtrails, you turn on the news and you see all this negativity around us, and it seems a little unrealistic, the whole OPPT thing. I've just got to say, you had the most wonderful callers. I think everybody that I have met in this movement have been incredible. And sometimes you just need a little, pull back. You need to get away from the negativity. I listened to watched Peter's video that you guys mentioned earlier, and that really blew me away. I could really feel his genuine awakening to this whole thing. And so a lot of my questions were addressed. As I've been sitting on the phones, I don't really have a whole lot more to say, but I would love it to be able to walk outside and see blue sky more often and not see those chemtrails. And I think that once that stops, it's going to be a lot more realistic that we're moving forward.
Paige, can I clarify one thing for you?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for bringing up that treason tracker, because you really brought that grace and healing and that focus, that choice, that nexus point of making a choice with that very proposal about treason tracker. And I want to say thank you very much, because you brought that onto the table and helped us, gave us an opportunity to focus on making a conscious choice of how do we want this energy to flow. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. That's great.
Thanks, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we have area code 212.
Hey, guys.
Hello. What's your name?
It's Michael.
Michael, hi.
Hey, Michael.
Hi. Hey, guys. Well, so one thing I want to do is thank everybody. And I want to just say that the ball seems to be rolling down the hill at an immense speed right now. And just want to say that the powers that be, the feeling really is resonating everywhere, that they're, sort of slipping into their last. I kind of want to just thank them almost for so mathematically imploding everything. Because, from reviewing I was reviewing the Paradigm Report again. That's just such a hard document, Heather, where it just so, illuminates how mathematically destroyed they sort of left themselves with no choice, and it's just, just a great revelation document. I did have one question, which was the one person, the one entity that was unable to be brought into, I want to see how you put that. It was great. It was really great. The stamina that the lead investigator was unable to determine, the Tucker Ray, if you could speak on that. Anyway, it just seems like it's very close and, just very energetic right now, so thanks.
Yeah, Tucker Bay, there was sort of this whole strategic list of trustees when I was introduced to the public trust. And basically it was compiled by Charles C. Miller because, he's got a background he knew that he wouldn't be able to overcome unless he had pedigree around him. And so it was actually Tucker Bay, not Tucker Ray. I misspelled it. I'm a terrible speller. But Tucker Ray was a military judge high up and in the military courts. Okay. And he's the only one I've ever talked to or had contact with, but the Bay name is a long agenda family name.
Okay, all good. And another thing that was on Dee's removing the shackles today, which just hit me like a brick this afternoon, was that my 14-year-old, who's been pretty involved in politics, actually, since she was 11. I know that's pretty early to get started, but, we've had a lot of discussions while she's been interning at this New York politician's office for a few years about what her future was going to be, and I very much just laid back and let her sort of, do her community service thing and not pushed it other than, that sounds like a good place to do community service. It'll, get you on the ropes and stuff. You'll know what it means, at least, if you do that. And then on Dee's removing the shackles today was the one thing that I expressed to her that I thought should come down in all of the bad things that the powers that were government had perpetrated on everyone. And that was, because I'm originally from Missouri, was the taking down of the 1947 National Security Act.
Right.
Yeah, so when I saw that today, I thought that just was for me. So thanks, Dee. I know that was a Heather interview, but when you posted that up there today, that was just like, I'm here for a reason. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
All the best. All love to you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we've lost the audience that were just listening on Blog Talk, but anybody who's called in, they'll still be online and through any other devices. So we'll keep going. So we've got area code 541. Area code 541.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, this is Tony from Oregon.
Hi, Tony. Tony from Oregon.
Zaruga in the chat room. Doing
Oh,
good,
Zaruga.
doing good. Yeah. So I wanted to call in and answer pretty much the same question that almost every caller so far has asked, which is, what are we going to do? For myself, like a lot of listeners, a lot of 3%ers, I consider myself a visionary. But I really want to be a part of manifesting that, taking action and moving towards it. And I have a lot of ideas that I think, if you get the right people together, we could enact pretty quickly. Not just me, but I'm really networked with a lot of brilliant people, a lot of people who were exploited by, for example, the Hollywood industry and kind of chewed up and spit out. And, for example, I know I believe the great-grandson of Cecil B. DeMille, who's a brilliant set designer that I've worked with. There's one of my closest friends is the great-grandson of the man who invented sonar, and he's brilliant when it comes to harmonics. And, the thing about he's stuck, even though he's got this brilliant mind for healing with vibration, he's stuck decorating cakes at Albertsons, doing a 9 to 5. So the problem is we're all just stuck in poverty, and none of us can move. Like I can understand it and say like, okay, I need to be able to move, but I can't explain this to my wife in a way that she can understand and essentially release me to start gathering people. You could see me as the Pied Piper of let's go build the future city, if you want to. And even if I just have to be the cheerleader to get behind everyone and just say like, enough. We know how powerful this is from all these other dimensions, but let's do something here. Let's come together. Let's gather the people. Bob and I, we share that same kind of religious childhood. I was a Jehovah's Witness as well, and for all their faults, the one thing I think was beautiful about them is they could get a few hundred people together and build something in a weekend, and if they can do that using religious control, why can't we do that? Because it's the future that we want. Why can't we just gather all those people, all the willing people?
We can.
How many people are listening on here? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Why? Let's do it. How do we free ourselves, though?
What was your name again, my man?
Tony.
Tony, if you want to drop me an email to opptcreativity@gmail.com, what opptcreativity@gmail.com, say this is Tony. I'll put you through to some folks that you'll resonate with. I mean, what we're going to find out here real soon is that when people are totally free to create, unencumbered and without limit, the amount of ideas and the amount of just amazing creative concepts that are going to come out of people is going to blow people away. I mean, I already know of just to throw a quick shout out to Nanako and Luke. They put together this document that I've been reviewing for the last couple of days. It's mind blowing. It's like a blueprint for creation and projects and all the different the different industries and the different areas that can be fixed and repaired, and what Hope Girl 2012 has put out with her Fix the World project. So I mean, a totally unencumbered freedom of creation is where we're headed, and it's going to allow everybody to step up to the forefront and offer whatever amazing ideas that they have, and there won't be anything stopping you from doing it. So kudos to you for thinking ahead of time. That's where my mind is now. Is I'm ready to kind of step beyond where we're at and spreading this information and start really doing the work to bring about this new world. So it's exciting, it's fun, and it's only going to heat up and get so much more fun from here. So I honor your thinking ahead and preparing your mind for that next stage, because it sounds to me based on this call that we're really close at this point to that being our new reality.
Sounds like we're very close. Very close.
I have one more question before I sign off. I have a close friend from childhood who's another brilliant inventor. He actually physically created an additive to gasoline that doubles and triples mileage. And this went before Congress. They fought over how they were going to distribute it. One side wanted to release it to the military first and save the money that way, and ultimately it went nowhere. In the meantime, he basically drove himself insane trying to work himself through the night to figure out how to do this without emitting any kind of toxins. Long story short, he ended up having to sell the patent to a gasoline petroleum company, and of course their plan is to sit on it or make it go away. The thing is, this technology is there, and I'm wondering how I can use all this information to potentially free it back from. I don't even know which company it is, but if I could find out that information, maybe we could pry it back out of their cold dead hands. And it's a stopgap. It's not where we want to go, but I mean, it's one thing that could free people up immensely and allow us to be consuming less petroleum while we figure out the next thing.
Yeah. Drop me an email, my man. Let's talk.
Awesome. You said OPPT-creativity@gmail.com?
Correct.
Perfect. All right.
Thanks,
Cool.
Tony.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll try and squeeze another couple in. So, people, if you can keep it short questions, and we'll keep our answers short, then we'll try and get through as many as we can. So, area code 808.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Ginger. Aloha,
Ginger.
everyone, on the Big Island.
Aloha.
And hey, you guys. And thanks
Hi,
for.
Ginger. I've liked your post.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. KP surprised me. It just went out. He usually always calls and says, "May I?" And I went. I always say yes, but this time he just did it, and it was just great. But listen, I'll try to keep it short and brief. I am so hot to trot. I've got this disclosure group, and one of the members has, independent of really paying that much attention initially to the whole, the op document when it first was announced, in his heart, he wanted to find a way to come up with money for folks to fund their dreams. And he has a lot of connections, and he's already doing it. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and tomorrow night some people are flying over from Oahu, and this project's going to get funded already. So, I had to kind of get his attention and say, okay, but here's this other way as well. And one of the dreams that I have is I've got my eye on this huge building, waterfront, and I want it to not only be a global visionary artist collective, but it hit me. It's like, well, we need a place for him to meet up and to have a little mini, I guess, CVAC, kind of like substation, and also for Hawaiians, and Native peoples those that have never forgotten, how things work. But I'm just taught to get going, and so I'm, if this drags on for I don't know how many more weeks before I can start really tapping into some assets that parallel the 3D world, then I'm going to look for another job. So I don't know if it's dependent. First, Heather, you had mentioned earlier in the show tonight that the CVACs are up and running right now, but then later you said the 100 and whatever it is, 94, will be up and running by the end of the week. And so I'm kind of confused because I'm thinking, well, maybe it's dependent on when disclosure happens.
Here,
so
I know where you're going. The CVACs themselves, CVAC stands for Creation Value Asset Center.
Yep.
That is you. That is me.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the systems are what are going online this week.
So I will be able to apply because, I got my hand on the phone to call a real estate agent immediately and get on it. But there's no point in doing that until I know it's really going to happen this week.
Yeah, the CVACs themselves are already up and running. That's what all the being and doing has been going on.
Right. And I've already made my list and I've been dreaming. Okay. I've already made my list and dreaming. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the systems themselves, imagine like having a library, right, on your corner.
Okay.
And that library is connected to all the other libraries around the world, so you have the same access to the data that all the others do.
Okay.
That is the system. And that way you can travel wherever you want to go, wherever your adventures and your choice of adventure takes you. You have access.
Okay.
Do we lose Heather?
Yeah, I can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
The CVACs are already up and running. Each CVAC is a manifestation in Source's universe. So it's not even just the people. It's all manifestations in Source's universe. The systems themselves are what are going online this week in order to make sure that you have access to all the tools you need, including access to the value that was stolen and now returned, as well as technology, as well as education tools and more education, not, Christopher Columbus landed on America. Okay? If we're talking about education as far as how to manifest the tools and the abilities within you to magnetically draw energy to you so that you have abundance of value and you can manifest anything you want, abundance, without expectations from the old systems telling you how you can create and not create. Does that make sense, the difference between CVAC and the CVAC system?
Absolutely. I mean, the system is really just a temporary, how should I say, vessel, and it's a bridge. So,
because at some point, all the beings at some point in their journey won't need those systems anymore, and they may become teachers within those systems for the younger generations.
Well, that's what I also want to see happen in this building, where we have what we call in Hawaii talk stories. We borrow from the Hawaiians, and it's have discussions about this so people can learn, but also have the visuals. And I'm so excited I can hardly stand it. And I just want to thank you guys. I mean, Brian, you have been working your tail off. I got your email this morning. I don't know where you get all your energy, but and I'm turning 63 tomorrow, so this is my birthday week, and I cannot be more excited.
Happy birthday!
Thank
birthday, girl.
So many blessings to each and all of you, that have helped. You've done all the research, and you've put all the pieces into place for people to understand and where to go to look. And, Heather, your integrity, no matter how much it's questioned, sideways, backwards.
I don't mind the questioning. It's fine.
And for you to come out, though, to show people how you work, like you did today. You said, well, I just didn't know. Okay, then that caused a problem for me, but once I figured it out, then I could just move past it. It wasn't a problem. I mean, it's just being transparent like that is just beautiful. So I'll let the next person come on, but many blessings of absolute aloha to each and every single one of you and all of you listening.
Thank you, Jinder.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll try and get through a couple more, but please keep it brief. Okay, area code 631. Area code 631. Hi.
Yeah, hi. This is Sal from Long Island. How are you?
Good, Sal.
Hi, Sal.
Yeah, first of all, what you guys are doing and what I'm hearing for the last few weeks is wonderful. Thank you very much. I've been on almost every call and trying to absorb it all. But my concern is, it's not a concern, but, I'm a financial advisor. I handle people's money, their hard-earned money over the years, and, I do it honestly and with integrity, and, I really, really, enjoy working with people in that sense. Now, but on the other hand, me knowing, and I've been knowing what's going to come down for a while now, as far as spiritually and in the 5D sense. So it's hard for me to do my job sometimes. But the main question is, I guess, when this all comes down, I guess I'm going to get a lot of calls, from clients and answers and so on. So my question is, how would people in my position handle that? I mean, because I have a lot of colleagues, who I haven't spoken about this at all to, because they'd probably, call my clients and say this guy's crazy. I don't know, But how do you guide a guy like me that does this kind of thing for a living? And also, I handle people's health insurance and all that. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that I won't take the calls, but I'm going to get a lot of calls. So, is there any way, any sense of how this is going to come down, and for people in my position that do this, but know what's going on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. And what I can say is this: you probably have one of the best databases, because of the field that you're in, to make a transition a hell of a lot easier than attorneys. I can tell you that. Because number one, you're working with energy, you're just working with the representations of it. And the representations and the flow of the financial system is basically a hidden process, but you'll recognize it. So really, it's just a matter of giving you and making sure that you have access to the tools. As far as being crazy and all of that, believe me, I've been there within the banking system, and I would say that there's going to be enough visual evidence or visual events that the crazy word won't come up. Number two, you'll be able to transition into the energetic part of the financial system and actually probably be a very active participant with the tools that are out there to assist your clients to understand and move through the fact, okay, maybe you don't have your $1 million account anymore, but you have a $10 billion one over here. And, talking with people about how this energy process of value actually works. The financial system is really a copy with hidden layers over it, so you don't really know the prime of it all. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of sense that that's the way it would go down. I've been told by intuitives that I'll have a role, and somehow when this comes down, and I don't know. So I guess that'll be my role because I have so many clients. But so that's. But I just want to share one more thing, because I thought it was pretty interesting. But a few weeks ago, I was invited for a seminar on this exchange, New York Stock Exchange, after hours.
Yeah.
And I was there, as an advisor, of course, but I was really a spy, because I was actually sending, I guess love energy, to the system, saying, because I've never been on the floor before, and it just felt like I was in the belly of the beast. I mean, it was just incredible to see, the floor of the stock exchange, and I'm looking around, and I'm going, oh my God, I'm seeing Goldman Sachs, I'm seeing all the names, and I'm just like, I just, and there were a lot of people around, so I was just like sending energy, and so when I left, and I'm a Reiki practitioner, so I turned around and just sent just a blast of Reiki into the stock exchange. So I really felt good, I felt like I did my part in some way,
Good for you, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, before you go, I'm having a similar conversation with my accountants as your customers are having with you, but they're actually on the page as well, and I've already said to them what you just expressed, that they're going to have a role with their own clients, because they've got a lot of clients too, to actually educate them as to what actually happened, and not just what happened, but how it came about, because you can't explain the situation to people without going into the history and the reality of what was behind the system. So absolutely, you'll have a role to play.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Clients are coming to you.
Yeah, that's what my accountant said. He said all the other guys in my business are going to be calling me, and I said, yeah, they will.
Thank you,
anyway,
Sal.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks,
and God bless you all.
Thanks, man. You too.
Okay, guys, I think we've gone over it long enough. There's actually still too many people on the call with their hands up. We'll be here for hours. And I know it's very early and it's like 4 o'clock or something for you now, Heather, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't. What time it is? Have you informed me?
Okay. So we will call it a night, people.
Hey, Lisa, real quick, can I read a quick poem that Luke wrote me that I think will be a perfect closer? Just a real quick one for the night. Can I read it real quick?
If it's going to be
the closer, you can do
yours.
This is your show. You do your close, but just in closing, I guess would be a better way to put it. Can I read it real quick?
Yeah, no, hang on. Just slow down. If you're going to close with the poem, that's great. Just let me make 1 or 2 announcements. One is Kip. Kip called into the show last week or the week before, who was living in his truck and was concerned about having that taken off him. Can you please, if you're listening, send an email to lisa@lisamharrison.com, because I've had people reach out to me who want to reach out to you, and I have got no way of getting in touch with you. So if you could send me an email, Kip, that would be great. What else? That'll do. Actually, that'll do. We are going to take it out with Brian and his poem from Luke. So thank you, everybody.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lisa. Okay. At the touch of love, everyone becomes a poet, Plato said. But he's dead, so I'm here to give you words instead. Because a zombified dream world is what you have been fed. If you look outside a real world, you'll see you've been denied. They lied to take control of your soul, but you're eternal, which they don't want you to know. So follow me through a sea of stars on journey to find your eternal hearts. You are a God of limitless creation, our days of slavery on this plantation, our mere blip in our universal nation. So rise with all your might, because tonight we end the plight. We save ourselves and win this fight. Expand our consciousness to fill with light. Wake up, brothers and sisters, tonight's the night. We leave the dream and enter the real, where love abounds and no one is ill. We've won, it's over, just take the red pill.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
And goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.